purpose, you know, they don't sign up as them.
Don't want to spook off the easy prey.
Yeah, something like that.
All right, well, we got a TvT underway, ladies and gentlemen, and I do know the names are a little bit borked up here on the overlay, but it is 4, not 2, not 3, but 4 fantastic Terran players taking place here. Spawning in the upper right side, yesterday he said, I'm going to win all this money. We're going to win your Archon mode tournament. We'll see if they can. It is going to be the combination of Beastyqt and Liquid Bunny.
In the bottom left, as the red Terran Archon, it's Optimus and uThermal.
Optimaru.
Optimaru. Actually, that sounds like
Skip to the
No. It sounds like the Star Trek test.
God. Koba Marashi Maru or something like that.
I have to try and Google it.
No, isn't that
Kobayashi Maru?
Yeah, there we go. I kind of nailed it.
Yeah, I think we both kind of nailed it.
I nailed it in the I don't speak English as my first language kind of way.
Well, it's Japanese. I don't understand why you...
So then, yeah, exactly.
Wait, what? What?
I don't know. All right,
anyway.
So Archon mode we've been over a couple of times, but just in case anybody watching the VOD of this is watching their very first Archon mode ever match, it's worth noting 2 players do control each team. Everybody shares resources. Everybody controls buildings, structures, units, you name it. And Terran versus Terran in a 1v1 situation is already very, I'd say, micro-intense in the early game. So having somebody who can dedicate to controlling that Reaper to watching the Hellions, kind of a big deal. When it gets a little bit later in, then we have tanks, we got medevacs, you got Marines, and that's where I really, really enjoy watching Terran mode Archon. Because we've talked about it before, and Archon mode doesn't unlock a bunch of new strategies, and it's not a completely different way to play, but you do stop making mistakes. You know, you get to have one person dedicate, say, look, dude, I want you to keep eyes on those tanks and never lose sight of them. And, you know, again, less mistakes get made, makes for a better game.
Tank drops early on still seem to be mostly a Archon mode thing. They've made their way into early mid and mid games, of course, when you actually start tank dropping everywhere. But it's usually if there's not going to be 2 tank drops, why bother? But in Archon, you can actually hope that your micro partner does not lose a single tank drop and actually go for it, if that is your plan. We had uThermal and Optimus go for something really quite greedy. Detox actually is... as you always, talk about, it's attacker-friendly, but it's not exactly cheese-friendly. It's surprisingly long, there's a lot of twists and turns. There's not a lot of abuse for Proxy Reaper, which is, of course, the #1 problem in TvT. It still was very dangerous of them to go for such an early command center, though, because even if they had proxied 1 barracks, it would have been a lot of damage against what they had. But you know how Beastyqt and Bunny make up for that? Losing out on the natural command center, they get a faster third base. So they suck it.
Faster thirds are not uncommon in TvT. That's not what's weird about this. It's the fact that they're putting on location that is a little bit quay. But the nice thing about Detox is it does kind of force a funnel through your third to your natural to your main. There's not a lot of bobbing and weaving unless it drops. So all their defenses that would hold up the natural would probably hold up at the third too.
This is probably the most macro-oriented TvT we've actually ever seen. Third base is not... Well, that's certainly true. I actually haven't seen too many TvTs on this map in general. This might be the second one. But anyway, it's that this third CC was before a factory. That's pretty insane to talk about in TvT, where usually tech is the greatest strength. Getting up to a Banshee before your opponent as a Viking is actually super, super important. But they managed to squeeze it in so that the tech is actually on par. They both had starports around the same time. They were trying to get their tank. Obviously, Beastyqt and Bunny are a little bit behind, but not so much that they're actually fearful here. They're going to be afraid of drops, certainly, and being outpositioned, but not just straight being, run over. Only 6 army supply down. Good positioning should cover that.
Yeah. I do want to talk about the money for this before the game gets too far underway, too, because I forgot we are actually paying out to the 4th place today. So all the players remaining in the tournament at this point have earned money. Yes, 8 people in the semifinals. What? So, Major to Muslim, Caliber, whoever he's playing with. On the other side, we got uThermal and Beastie here, Optimus and uThermal. They're all going to get at least $50, so $25 each. Second place is
Nice.
worth $100, so $50 each, and the finals, the grand finals, is worth $300, so $150 each, worth more than winning most weeklies. Not to mention two people. Yeah. Now here comes that tank drop. Going to be really annoying to try and catch. Again, one person just gets to make this their sole focus for a little bit of time.
Yeah, this is something that, again, is very, very risky to do if you're 1v1. Because, you know, for instance, this drop comes and then you don't pay attention to your tank and you actually lose it right now. Like, that could have happened in 1v1. Not happening here in Archon mode. It actually wasn't enough to deal with the tank in the first place, but you get the idea. You get the gist. Picks up the Marines, heads home. Gets 10 SCVs, though. And keep in mind, they're the ones at the much faster third base, which... like, Optimus and uThermal now know about, by the way, and they realize their situation.
It's not just that they know about it. Oh my god, this tank might actually... okay, never mind. If it stayed siege, it would die to the Reaper. They're still going to lose the tank in the middle of the map, though. I find that very interesting. Viking going to give chase to the medevac, so gets a kill over there. And for Beasty and Bunny, this has just been a fantastic game for them. Like, not a lot has happened, but they've got incredibly far ahead off of this. Yeah,
well, 10 SCVs, you know, brings them down to almost 20 SCVs down, like triple production compared to double production for most of this game. They could have fallen behind on tech, they could have fallen behind on army, but it was just so slight that, like, Thermal and Optus didn't really get a chance to abuse it.
The other really big argument that definitely needs to be made is the fact that you've got better, so your income's gonna be better. You're gonna have better macro for it. Like right now, the production's not there. The production actually favors the Red Terran. But there, you give them like 2 more minutes in this game, and we're going to see, like, I think double the army supply. And let's not forget, too, that medevac going down early on is huge. That drop that they did when they kind of came in over here and did a bit from Beastyqt was fantastic, and it did a little bit and got out alive. There's no option for that for the Red Terran. There's no threatening. There's no anything. It's just a really relaxed and easy game for the Teal Terran, because there's no threat on their side of the map.
Getting away with the third command center was huge. Like, not being able to see that until it was already done in mining did have to alter their plans a little bit. They might have already been planning on doing a 2-base attack, I don't know, but still, like, that does alter it, especially when you consider what position you're going to try and take. But certainly just everything else that has gone wrong for them, losing the medevac, you know, getting dropped and losing 10 more SCVs, this has just been Beastyqt and Bunny's game since they got away with the third CC. And you're right, in another minute or two, we should see that army supply just skyrocket. I mean, they also got away with the double engineering bay.
It reminded me a little bit of back when we would cast Marine King in the Elite League. Like, that one game, like, he would get away with something greedy, like whether it's fast +1 or third CC, and he would skyrocket off of it, right? Like, that's kind of what we're seeing here. P.S. Miss that guy.
A lot of people do. The, double factory coming down here too, so where, you know, he talked about the Red Terran having that better production. This is around the time where, well, the Teal Terrans are going to have the best production right off the bat. This is the only time, probably, that Optimus and uThermal will have a decent army supply to try and tear their opponent down. And even then, it'll still be very even. And it's just going to be up to the micro player not to screw it up and lose a bunch of tanks or something.
Oh god! Of course, you can't even drop these tanks yet because the other player can just pull back. So yeah, you don't want to put them in a position they can't fight. 4 tanks versus 4 tanks. Gonna go a little bit better for Red, but they don't shoot on the tanks. They shoot on the Marines.
Well, it doesn't work out so bad. They got to pick up the tanks. A couple more Marines are coming forward. This could be uThermal and Optimus' opportunity. A couple more tanks coming out now, 2 tanks at a time, or just about. I think they still have the tech lab.
Truthfully, I'm not too worried about the tanks. If they get rid of the Marines, BC and Bunny aren't in too much trouble. But the tanks are what's going to cover those Marines. Got that Viking out trying to pick off some of these medevacs, but this positioning is a little bit awkward for both sides.
Production might just barely cover Beastyqt and Bunny. And actually, yeah, pulling the SCVs also really helps. And there goes Marine count, so the tanks have no supports. This drop is trying to do more damage. There should be enough to deal with it. Yeah, there is.
But the big thing behind this drop was it also scouted there's still no third. So just holding puts Bunny and Beastie ahead once again.
Mm-hmm.
And they know
they're going to have 30 seconds to basically take a breath here before the next fight is going to go down. And they still are a little bit down in army supply, so they still have to be very careful with this, how this game plays out. Lose a tank, lose a Viking, lose a second tank. That's a really nice drop.
Yeah, so far so good. Of course, that medevac's so close to going down, but not quite going down. Makes this really problematic to clean up. And if they've got too much attention spent in the main, then they lose out on that front line. They know there's another push coming. Marine just died in the middle of the map, so yeah, scans to see where that army's pushing from. Oh, there's not enough tanks. This is where it gets
they-
really scary.
They lost 2 tanks and one was being microed in the main. Like, that was a really scary point, but still not enough.
That's where macro starts looking fantastic. Now, it's worth noting the army supplies are kind of even, 94 to 91, and all that goodness. The difference is, if this fight trades out evenly, and these players continue to trade back and forth for the next 10 minutes, one team mines out of all their minerals, and the other doesn't.
Yeah. I guess, you know, maybe they're even looking forward to it. Oh, they try and get a 3rd base, surprisingly, but that's going to be game. Now there's a severe advantage for Teal Terran. GG.
All right, BC and Bunny going to take that first game here in the best of 3 semifinals match.
Excuse me.
I just closed the chat by mistake. Oops.
The next map is Dusk Towers.
Caliber's apparently going to build a house and take a nap. What? What did I miss?
Do you have to build a house to do that?
I don't know. BaseTradeTV clearly hates Protoss. Guys, we had like 1 Protoss team sign up today. There was no rules saying Protoss couldn't sign up. I don't even know what to say to that. Like, I really don't know how to respond to that. We love Protoss when available, but unfortunately, the state of the game right now really just doesn't contour to Protoss very well, we'll say.
They're on a tough time. They underpowered.
I don't even know I would say that, though, because you take somebody who plays Protoss really well, like Neeb, and he definitely doesn't make Protoss look underpowered. In fact, that's kind of like the Beyond aspect, right? Like, if you only watch games of Beyond at the start of Legacy, you think Terran's the most broken thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know.
Okay, just waiting on Bunny to join us here in the lobby. Getting to the next one. It's going to be Dust Towers, as Zombie Grub said. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, color changes underway. Spawning here on the bottom left side of Dust Towers is going to be the combination of Beastyqt and Liquid Bunny.
In the top right, as the blue Terran Archon, it is Optimus and uThermal.
So it's actually just occurred to me, I don't know what race matchup we're going to have from Caliber.
Oh yeah, whoever's partner with, unless this partner's also random.
Right, so, I mean, that would obviously be allowed, that's fine. But what I'm intrigued most by is what combination does that make for the finals? We might have, say, a TvT finals, and if that's the case, that's fine. I really like TvT. With Major and, of course, DeMuslim being the other opponents. But if Caliber and his teammate are playing, say, Zerg or Protoss, and they win, that'll make for a very interesting finals, I think.
Actually, I think it'll be a lot of fun. But I think it might just end up being a TvT finals.
This is where, you know what we need to do? We need to have a tournament one time. But I know we've talked about this before, where it's like a scorecard, right? Where it's like...
oh, you rate it? Yeah.
Yeah, like winning the game is only worth 1 point. The Twitch chat votes on Twitch chat votes on another, and casters each vote on another type thing. So you have to actually win 2-1 to advance on.
It would. I mean, there'd be so much anger. We'd have to get like the nice guys in StarCraft first of all.
I think if we outlined that that's how the tournament was going to work, like I don't think it'd be.
Well,
that
then
probably.
yeah, the people who are going to complain shouldn't be signing up in the first place. And if they do, we'll just laugh at them. But
we also wouldn't. I don't think that would be an open tournament either. That would definitely be a invite.
Yeah. Thanks to Mad Dog 69 for resubbing 8 months in a row.
I don't know. I'm not doing well with notifications or pings or anything today. Thank you so much for subscribing. Sorry for missing.
Oh, they're there. See, for me, at the very least, I could see it when I actually had the camera on it. I just couldn't hear it, and it was on the mini-map. And I've been following your camera, and I know you've been actually on top of the pings, so you haven't even seen them?
Oh, no, I haven't. Nothing.
Oh, well, then you're just completely broken.
I'm just really good at catching pings, apparently. What do you know?
Well, we did have a 2-Rax opener from Optimus and uThermal, but it was scouted and it wasn't proxied, obviously. So it was never going to be very hard to deal with. Maybe it could have snowballed, but there was like a bunker. They were being very smart with their Reaper, didn't let it just suicide. Because, sometimes if you counterattack, it's actually you get more SCVs than they do, but it is a risk. So uThermal and Optimus realized that and have just started to macro out of said 2-Rax. But that does put them behind a little bit in the command center.
Yeah. That grenade out of BC and Bunny, by the way, was fantastic. Launching the Reapers over them. Let them reshoot a couple more extra shots than they should have. But they should be able to clean this up.
And it definitely shouldn't lose any more SCVs, and certainly not that mule. Oh, maybe more Marine.
Yeah.
Oh, you live. I
Well
like
done.
you.
That Reaper grenade actually was a pretty big deal. Come with a cliff like that. That's a pretty fantastic move out of our Yellow Terran team.
Well, they might be a little bit lower on production, but they have that double SV production a lot. Okay, so lower on army production, but higher on SCV production. That's the better way to put it. At least for now. And they're actually getting a faster third CC, too. So we'll see if uThermal and Optimus are going to go for their own third CC at like a decent time, or if they're once again going to have to be stuck on kind of 2-base all-inning until it does enough damage, and then maybe they can think about a third CC.
Yeah, it was really Beasties and Bunny's macro that was so impressive. Like, we talk about greed, and I guess that's a statement, but I really liked how the macro played for them that game, and it just really carried them through. We might just see that again this game with the CC and all. Thank you very much. I'm in Twitch chat, so I at least see this one. I don't know if the sounds are going through the stream, because I'm not hearing them, and I don't know what's up with that, but Darren MB41, new sub hype. First new sub of the day, in fact. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. And this actually gives me a good reason to check what our sub count's at, because every day we expect it to fall down a little bit. People will stop resubbing, they'll be out of money or moral obligations or whatnot. But 1,000, I can't believe it, 1,245. We're still going up. This number should be going down.
It's gonna be. We're popular.
It's gonna be the stock market crash. Like, because the thing was, it was all those big subs on one day, and people definitely only sub for 1 month on that one day for the hype, and that's fine. It's gonna blow me away though. We're gonna wake up and be like, yeah, yesterday we had 1,200 subs. Today we have like 1,000.
When was that day?
It was the Elima League something.
Yeah, so it was a Saturday. We got that much going for us. I think it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago.
So not quite there yet.
Definitely wasn't last week. That's all I got. There's a drop while a Banshee attacks. So the drop, well, actually gets a tank and maybe
Nice
some
start.
more SCVs.
If they pull these
pretty
away and
good.
heal up, they can also come back. Let's not forget about that. The power of a medevac drop is medevac's aiding in this drop is huge. But yeah, 6 for 6 on each side of the field. Of course, is a little bit better for the guys of the third CC to replace those SCVs with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you know, the biggest weakness, and they knew that going into the third CC, they now definitely know it with the drop having stimmed, is that they don't have army production, they don't have army tech. That is a long time for uThermal and Optimus to abuse stim and combat shields. And certainly, even though the third base is later, they're going to be able to either keep killing SCVs, get guys off of mining, halt the third CC from actually going on location long enough that this is still definitely a game they can still win. It's just that, you know, they are a little bit down in SCVs right now. Another Banshee actually on the way out for Beastyqt and Bunny. It didn't really do a lot of damage. 6 SCVs is, I think, actually like a pretty perfect amount for a cloaked Banshee to be used. Not ideal, but it's okay. But a second Banshee just doesn't feel very useful too, especially since you've been alerted about the Banshee presence. Banshee threat. Only a single engineering bay for Bunny and Beastyqt? Looks like it. Oh, no, they already have one going. Okay. So they're going to, once again, get away with that double upgrade. Whilst Optimus and uThermal still haven't started theirs. They do have an engineering bay, though. There it is.
Sorry, it's conversing with Nathaniel in chat. So
Yes, you were.
definitely contributing to the cast at hand. Luckily, though, you know what? With ReChat, what I really like about the chat for the VODs now is like this is some confirmation that Rifkin's not just being a total shit. Like, they can see, like, oh, that's what BaseTradeTV was doing.
Has anyone ever accused us of not, like, whenever they accuse us of not paying attention to each other, it's, you know, usually, oh, they're in chat.
Oh no,
Like,
I just get accused of not paying attention. Period. Your observing sucks, Rifkin. You're fucking terrible. You should
Okay.
quit casting and get a life. Drop over here does get caught. That's going to be very unfortunate. But there are still 2 very strong medevacs full of units heading towards the main base. SCV is going to have to scatter and dance. There's a tank up. This will make sure this doesn't get too out of hand, but they're still going to get some damage.
Oh, they lost the Viking too. That sucks. Supply depot is not being finished. Is actually a bit of a hindrance here. They would love to have just already lowered them or been done with them. There you go. Got to put those guys back on. Still not evening up the worker lead, and we do have Beastyqt and Bunny now going for those upgrades. And they're going to have an upgrade lead too. So, despite Blue Terran's best efforts, they've still fallen down in this game, thanks to that earlier third CC, and just good defense, basically. Good enough defense from Beastyqt and Bunny.
By the way, big love to Half Freaking Bush. Apparently he subbed earlier and I missed it. Guys, you blame Sombrey as well, okay? I'm not the only one who's missing subs in this instance.
My bad. Yeah,
But
I do remember seeing it and then not bringing it up.
But thank you, African Bush, for resubbing. I'm sorry. Again, I'm not hearing the notifications. I don't even know if the sound's going through the stream or not. Because, like, I can see the sound levels going. I just don't know why I'm not hearing it. Anyways, regardless, tanks are pushing the front lines, but damn, that's a lot of Marines. We talked about macro being the strong point for Beasty and Bunny, and it's kind of showing through with their army supply right now. Now, it's not like they're up 20 SCVs, and it's not an insane lead, but it is the fact that this is going to be a hard army to deal with. Like, kind of A-move status in some situations.
Yeah. I mean, uThermal and Optimus did some good damage, but just not enough to make up for the faster command center and then the faster third command center. They had such a big gap where they had better upgrades. They had stim and combat shields, but the third CC went down still at an okay time. Triple SE production, never be underestimated, and they are certainly paying for their opener first and foremost. So that 2x Reaper opener did not work out, but then, of course, for the lack of greed beyond that. Still doesn't mean they can't bring this back. They're only 20 supply down, and they did end up taking a really good start to the fight in the last game, so I have faith in their ability to take a good fight.
So Nathanius is genius, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
The new dashboard shows you sub-revenue properly. Oh, we'll talk about this in a minute. Big tank drop does unload, and they're going to be able to pick off one of the very precious few tanks that uThermal and Optimus have. There's a drop heading to the natural base. Unfortunately, the Marines that were in position to stop the medevac do get thwarted, and this is starting to get a little bit messy. The front lines definitely favor Beasty and Bunny in terms of numbers, especially when it comes to those tanks, but it's not like they can easily push into this position. This drop also gets pushed off, and this didn't get as dangerous as it looked like it was going to.
It did look a little scary at first. But...
Oh,
actually, this is suddenly back to scary. Usually you want to abuse the top position, and uThermal and Optimus were definitely on top of that. That's probably why they were going a little bit to the north, but I guess the south position could just be not as equally as abused. This is actually a very dangerous maneuver right here from whoever's microing. Yeah. But it still could be scary. Like, if you did end up pulling the Marines on top, which is usually what you want to do, they could drag Marines of blues on top of their tanks. Okay, you're talking about Danger Zone. I was wondering what song you're going to start thinking. Like, maybe Blue Dabby Dee Baddy Da, or maybe Danger Zone.
So Nate was pointing out that, yeah, the new dashboard on Twitch shows you when people subbed. The 20th. So it's coming up soon. It's coming soon.
5 days.
5 days, we're going to hit depression, guys. All right, drop of the main goes off. Tanks do get dropped forward. So I guess it's worth describing... Oh, this is kind of cute. They've been left unattended. Friendly fire kills like 3 tanks. Holy shit.
Oh my good god, that was totally worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. That puts them actually in a really rough spot. I was going to say, though, it's worth noting how the tank dynamic is going to work. For those who don't know, you haven't played TvT, you just see the drops, you hear people wanting it nerfed. Basically, whoever lands the tanks first wins. However, it's worth noting attack priority still goes weird on unit control. And if you're focus firing the tanks that drop, sometimes that can win you a fight, even if you are not the person who dropped first. But if it's like auto attack versus auto attack, your hands off the keyboard, like whichever tanks are on the ground first are going to get that first shot, and they're going to guarantee that, like, with a split second of delay, you take out 3 or 4 of your opponent's tanks before they even fire.
That is obvious enough, but there's still a lot of micro that goes into it. We still have to account for what the Marines are positioned in. You don't want to drop into siege tanks, obviously, which you can. You actually see a lot in pro games, and I don't know, just not as coin flippy, certainly, as some other people seem to think.
Yeah, the overlay again, not super helpful here, guys, but it's been asked several times, so to bring it up once again, it is uThermal, not Maru. It's Maru Thermal, if anything. But despite the fact that he is one of our foreigners that I think favorited for his control in the game, it's one person's control that's fantastic versus 2. That's not working out for him. 4 bases established on this side of the map, and it's only going to get worse from here. A line of scrimmage essentially drawn, like you will not cross this point. We got turrets coming down to really solidify the position, and a scattered drop that was left, I guess, barely alive from that Viking to the south also guarantees no medevacs are going to sneak out. Ooh, now there's a bit of air control thanks to those Vikings.
Yeah. Air control is something that just isn't... It would once every few games be the ultimate decider in like Heart of the Swarm, for instance, but actually really fallen down in Legacy of the Void. Very rarely do we see someone try and beat each other. It used to be like 1 versus 3 versus 5, and then 5v5 Vikings Like, I very distinctly remember that count.
Yeah.
But it's definitely been less of a concern. You want more medevacs and more tanks, I think, is usually the first concern. But now that they've been stuck in this position, they are trying to get whatever edge they can. So if that means getting Vikings to reduce the vision, I mean, maybe, hell, eventually getting Liberators with range, they are stuck on 3 bases, and they cannot push out of this. But if they have a couple of tricks up their sleeve, like this is where you would say, like, a Nidus Worm if they were Zerg, a Doom Drop, of course, too, but they're stuck, and they need to start thinking a little bit out of the box.
So because there's so many extra command centers that have been taken in this game, vision I don't think will be a problem. Like, okay, Vikings have the default vision, but there should be like infinite scans almost up for BC and Bunny, and as we see, you can't really just drop one tank forward like that. It's not going to happen. Now, there are some questions really, how do you break this position? And my argument, my biggest argument would be, uThermal and Optimus need to make one Liberator.
Yeah, that's like...
They have
the
total
Viking
air control. Yeah.
So the Liberator's a little dangerous without range, because it's still worth it for Beastyqt and Bunny to like stim in and lose 6 Marines over losing 1 or 2 tanks at a time. But if they got range too, I could actually see them really pushing this back. But then the question is, like, they've invested so much in the Liberator and range, like, okay, they push this back, but then what? They're still being out economied here. They're still going to have to deal with a main engagement that usually goes too fast to actually utilize Liberators correctly.
Yeah, I just... It's the fact that you don't need a lot, just like 1 or 2. Really
yeah,
blows me away.
It's got to be something. So they're trying to be really sneaky about this 4th base, and it looks like they're going to get away with it for some time, but honestly, Beastyqt and Bunny, they could just unsiege, go over to the 4th, kill it, and probably still be okay, because you don't have to unsiege, of course. You just pick up the tanks. Unsiege. What am I, a caveman?
Yeah. Go back to Link's Liberty Sound Grip. No one wants to hear. All right, the concave initially is good for blue, but yeah, they're just going to tap out. That's not going to work. Oh, that's an unfortunate game for Maru Thermal and Optimus, but Beastie and Cutie, Beastie and Cutie.
That was on friends.
I mean, it's not wrong. Bunny is a cutie. Beastie and Bunny will take the series and move on to the grand finals, where they'll wait for the winner of Caliber and his partner versus the Muslim Major. We're going to find out who's playing here in just a moment, but we're going to go to a commercial break. How do you guys have not done vetoes? Some complaining about taking a nap, Caliber. You could have done... All right, we're going to go to 2 minutes of commercials. We'll be back soon with the other semifinals. So at this point, it is a best of 3 into a best of 5. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back with more of the Gnomejon Archon Mode Cup momentarily.